Hey guys, Avros here, back with the next Lufenia fight, which is for Act 3, Chapter 2, Part 1. I mean, these chapter names are getting a bit convoluted. This is the one for Terra's burst weapon release against the two Humbaba bosses. So, starting off as usual with the Orb. The Orb these guys have appears at 79% HP and has a 20 count and is increased by non-elemental magic damage, and that increases the count by 4. So, a bit easier of a one to control than we've had previously. Nothing around sort of like debuffs or sap or anything like that. Just gotta hit them with non-elemental magic, which is a lot easier to deal with here. Other things to keep in mind about these bosses: they absorb thunder-based damage. They have a very high resistance to range weapons, so Arciela is pretty much straight out on this fight. They have weaknesses to the poison debuff, immunity to paralyze, HP attack disable, attack, defense, speed, max brave, and int BRV down debuffs. So immune to a lot of stuff here. Another thing that makes this fight very difficult and kind of an annoying fight to deal with is at 79, 49, and 29% HP, so 79% being the same percentages they get the Orb. The enemy will gain a red aura, cleanse themselves of all of their debuffs, except when they hit 29% HP they don't cleanse them, so just keep that one in mind. They'll get a lot of bravery and gain a shield, about 30,000, I think it was about 35,000-ish bravery shield, and they'll also lower their defense against all magic attacks. And what happens with this red aura is they become immune to all delay and delete effects, even break delay, and then you have to get 8 turns consecutively without giving the boss a turn to remove the aura. If you don't, they will attack you with Needle Shot ++, which removes all of your buffs and does a lot of damage. Every time I tried this fight and tried to tank through it, it basically near enough to one-shot the unit that it was hitting if it didn't one-shot them outright. The only ones I had survive were things like Aerith or Arciela that have built-in last stand on their abilities. So controlling this is the major sort of thing in this fight. That's why they have the easier sort of bravery damage orb and everything. They just do non-elemental magic damage to deal with the Lufenia orb, because this is the main part of the fight that you need to deal with. The only other thing that they have that's worth mentioning is at 49% HP and below, they start countering all elemental attacks with Brave plus HP and a 5-turn delay Brave plus HP attack, removing all your buffs and cleansing debuffs. So that's the Humbaba's Breath that they hit you with there. I think it's Humbaba's Breath Plus or something for that one. I found it in research but never actually experienced it personally. I didn't bring anyone that did elemental damage to these fights because didn't want to deal with that as a thing. So, right. Dealing with this red aura on these bosses. So really for this you need to bring specific characters. There's no two ways about it. You need to bring either speedsters, units that give themselves free turns and lots of them, or some sort of delay and seriously delay the bosses before they even get into these auras. And because they are at those specific HP thresholds, that is a valid strategy, is just to push the Humbabas as far back as you possibly can, and then once that you have them pushed back, then deal with the those red aura stages there. I guess the best sort of way of dealing with these is to either go with someone like Terra, whose event this is obviously, so usually the event character is very good for this. Her new LD giving her the 4 free turns with free ability use really helps save on the turn count. It's really tight in this Lufenia at 75 turns. Or, run someone like Italian, hit the deletes early, but that's going to run out of uses. Bring someone who's melee that's got some serious delay, like I guess you could bring Garland and use like his Chains of Time to sort of slow them and try and do what you can there. Or Emperor along with his burst weapon, or sort of coming around to my team comp, and we'll talk through this now. I brought along Ultimecia. So what I did for this fight and to sort of deal with this red aura is bring along Ultimecia and Terra. It gives you just a lot of control over that red aura stage. It gives you the ability to use Ultimecia's burst, delete back a whole bunch of turns, then use her Apocalypse EX to give her more turns, along with Terra using her LD to get a bunch of turns. And between one use of Apocalypse being the turn that it's on, and then 3 turns for Ultimecia is 4 turns, and then if you have Terra before the bosses as well, and then her using her LD, that gives you another 4 turns, that's 8 turns straight away. Also, trying to get the bosses there at the same time, that means you only have to do the 8 turns once. If you, have a bit of distance between those two HP percentages, then you'll run into situations where you need to lengthen that out to even more turns in a row just to make sure that both of them lose the buff. Because having that buff, like I said, they do the Needle Shot ++ and it removes all of your buffs, does a lot of damage. If you stall the 8 turns, then they only hit you with Needle Shot Plus, and that's way more manageable. You still will need healing in your party, so that's where you know, party member number 3, Aerith, comes in, and also Aerith doing magic damage as well, with the fact that these bosses, you know, reduce their defense against magic, means that you can get a lot more damage in a lot more effectively throughout the fight. With that 75 turn count, you really do need to just push your damage as hard as you can in a lot of phases of this fight. This is actually my second recording. You'll see it at the end when it comes up with the quest results. I had a run, I think it was a little bit faster or slower, I forget, than this one. I think it was 65 turns on 66. And what happened in that one is I got right to the very end. I have one of the Humbarbas left. I think I had a couple of turns before its next one, but I was worried about hitting it with its all attack and just wiping the party, and just went, right, I'm just going to kill it. It was on Aerith's turn. Finished it off with a HP triple plus, and the boss went down, and I was like, right, that should be it. And came up with the results screen, and I was 100 damage-ish over the damage threshold and failed. And if I'd used Healing Wind, it would have been a successful clear. So yeah, definitely need to be careful about your healing throughout this fight, and trying to keep your HP topped up, just to make sure you make that requirement, because I think it's 5k damage or something you can take. It's very, very low. That said, other things that I brought for this fight to try and make this easier, obviously, were the call abilities. Penelo on Terra gives her a lot more sort of bravery regen, and gives you possibly HP regen access there through the call abilities there. The bravery regen on Penelo's LD call can be really helpful for Terra to just get as much out of her 4 LD turns in a row. With Ultimecia, I've got Jack as the call on her. You really want to just use him towards the end part, you know, the last 29% when they don't remove the debuffs anymore. Keep his LD call up as long as possible, and just make that last phase of the fight have as much burst as possible. And then Arciela on Aerith there. Arciela's 2 sort of call abilities used in that 49% HP sort of threshold. When I used the burst, I think it was just before the 49%, just to try and get as much sort of damage up, and with Ultimecia's burst, trying to get as much delay as possible on those bosses. The framed buffs that Arciela's got there really did make a huge difference. And lastly, bring along a friend Terra that's got a burst weapon, because that burst ability that she's got, the burst actual like aura after the burst phase, just does so much increase to magic damage that just having that, and then using your own Terra like I did, or your own Aerith, because I switched out Ultimecia for Terra, allows you to just get as much magic damage in that phase as possible, and really helps burst through some of those phases of the fight and get your turn count down. That all said, I don't have much more to say about this fight. It's pretty straightforward in what abilities and stuff they're hitting you with, just all standard stuff we've seen: Group Thundaga, Barber's Breath, which will delay one of your units and push it back, so something just to be aware of. If they're doing a single target, it might push back a key unit that you need, so those free turns, just bringing your units back forward and helping you out there is really necessary whenever you get the chance. Apart from that, nothing else to say, so hope this all helped. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask, and enjoy the rest of the video.
魔導よ、この効果で魔導よ、この効果で魔導よ、降り注いで滅びの光をこれは裁きよ刻め魔導の刃よそこ捕らえました覚悟はいいですか常世の闇よそこまでです頑張るからいい気にしてるの これは裁きよ。無に帰りなさい。これは裁きよ。刻め。私の時間、時には誰もあらがえない。さあもだえなさい。栄光の痛みを。これは裁きよ。滅びの光を。これは裁きよ。消えなさい。刻め。魔導よ、この効果で。
大地の息吹よ。力貸して。おとなしくしなさい。
消えなさい。魔導よ、降り注いで。
おとなしくしなさい。
消えなさい。魔導の刃よ。
やーっ。
滅びの光を。これは裁きよ。刻め。消えなさい。魔導よ、この効果で。これは裁きよ。
お願い。
力を貸して。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導の刃よ。
力貸して。おとなしくしなさい。
やっちゃうぞ。油断した。 きよ。無に帰りなさい。
私はためらわない。
終わりにする。みんなを守る力を。行くよ、究極の光よ。さよなら。
頑張るから。いい子にしてるの。
みんなを守る。お願い、力を貸して。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導よ、この効果で。魔導の刃よ。
力貸して。おとなしくしなさい。
お願い、力を貸して。魔導よ、この効果で。お願い、力を貸して。お願い、力を貸して。いいよ。これは裁きよ。
大地の息吹よ。
滅びの光よ。これは裁きよ。刻め。えい。
力貸して。おとなしくしなさい。
魔導よ、降り注いで。 動よ降り注いで
頑張るからいい子にしてるの
部に帰りなさい魔導の刃よ滅びの光をこれは裁きよこれは裁きよこれは裁きよ